Hi everyone, welcome to Ferment in 15. My name is Maddie. I'm co-founder of the Crafty Pickle Co and Registered Associate Nutritionist. So today I'm going to be showing you how to make a vegan fermented cashew cheese. Okay, so this vegan fermented cashew cheese spread is fairly straightforward to make. You don't need that many ingredients. The only kind of hard part comes with waiting for it to be ready and also making sure that you've got the right balance of different flavors so it tastes really nice, and also making sure that fermentation happens properly so you're getting something that's really nice and fermented. So for this vegan cashew cheese spread, we call it a cheesy kind of spread because it has cheesy flavors to it. Obviously it's not trying to be a cheese, but you can use it in the same way you'd use any other type of spread like cream cheese or hummus, something like that. So I've got some cashews here, and these cashews I've been soaking in boiling water. These have been soaking for around 2 to 3 hours. Now I like to soak the cashews first because it means that you get a really nice smooth texture to the spread at the end. You don't have to soak it for as long, but just so you know, it'll be a little bit lumpier, and you might need a really good food processor, which we don't really have. So the other ingredients are nutritional yeast. That's really essential. This is what gives the spread a really cheesy, cheesy kind of flavor. And if you've never heard of nutritional yeast, all it is dried yeast flakes. So it's really versatile, this ingredient. We also have some smoked paprika, some garlic powder, and some black peppers. That's to kind of add to the flavor. Also got some salt. That's really critical to making sure that fermentation happens properly and that you're selecting for the right kind of microbes in your ferment. So the microbes that we want to do the fermentation for us can handle salt, whereas other kind of pathogenic or food spoilage bacteria really can't. So we definitely need salt in there. Now, what I've got here is some kimchi juice, and this just happens to be juice from the cat's kimchi, the kimchi that we make here at the Crafty Pickle Co. So this is an optional ingredient, and the reason that I'm going to use it here today is because it kind of acts like a starter. So what a starter does is it acts to kind of kickstart fermentation. So it means that fermentation will happen that little bit faster. So we're actually introducing some of the microbes that we want to do the fermentation at the beginning. But as well as kind of acting as a starter, this kimchi juice has all the flavors of the kimchi. So it's got the spice, it's got the garlic and the ginger. So it's going to add a really nice kind of extra little bit of flavor to our cashew cheese spread as well. So now we've got all the ingredients. All we need to do, it's super simple, is to add them all to the food processor. So we don't want to add all of the soaking water from the cashews, but we might want to add a little bit, just to kind of give it a little bit of texture so it's a bit smoother. What I'll do first is just add the cashews. And here I've got about roughly 200 grams of cashews. And then I'm just going to add all the rest of the ingredients. So nutritional yeast, for something like this, I tend to just eyeball it, but we'll add about 2 heaped spoonfuls of nutritional yeast. Smoked paprika. Again, it's kind of personal preference. If you really like the kind of smokiness that smoked paprika adds, add a lot. I kind of like it definitely so you know it's got smoked paprika in it, but not too much. So we'll say maybe that's like half a teaspoon to a teaspoon. Garlic powder as well. I love garlic. So again, I'm going to add kind of maybe about half a teaspoon of garlic powder. But what you can do is once you've blended it, give it a taste, and then if it kind of needs a little bit of something, then you can just add more. Yeah, nice and low that. I'm going to add all of the juice I've got here. I don't have very much, so this would probably equate to about a tablespoon worth of juice. Let's pour that in with all the spicy flavours it's going to add. And then salt. Again, you don't have to weigh this. I just kind of eyeball it, but again, you can taste it once it's blended, and if it doesn't taste salty enough. So there isn't necessarily a perfect amount of salt to add. It's kind of up to personal preference, but as long as it has some salt in there, then fermentation can progress as planned. So I'm just going to add a little bit of the soaking water in there just to kind of get things going. So what you'll probably notice is that the nuts kind of get stuck at the top. So you might need to do this a couple times. Just scrape it down, because we want to make this a really nice smooth paste. And I can see as well, this is definitely going to need some more of the soaking water as well. A bit more in there. Okay, I think that's as good as we're going to get it. So you can, if you really want a spread that's like silky smooth, you can keep processing it, but just for the sake of time, I'm just going to leave it as it is, because I know this is going to make a perfectly nice cashew cheese spread. So now all I do, that's all the ingredients added. I don't need to add anything else, but what I am going to do is just taste it. Just make sure it's kind of the right balance of spices, see if I want to add anything else or if it needs more salt. That is perfect. I can definitely taste it. It's got seasoning in there. You'll only, if it doesn't have enough salt in there, you'll definitely taste it because of the amount of cashews in there. But that's for me is perfect. So this next step is super simple. All we need to do is add this mixture into a clean jar. So it doesn't matter what type of jar you need. There's nothing special about the types of jar you have. This is literally just an old jam jar, I think. So as long as it's got a lid and it's clean, it'll work perfectly fine. So caring for this type of ferment is a little different to other types of ferments in that fermentation will happen quite quickly. So if you're making something like sauerkraut, for example, you're probably going to leave it for at least a week, probably a lot longer. But for something like this, you should start to see fermentation happen after about 24 hours. And you'll know that it's happening because so when you add it to this, there shouldn't really be many air bubbles, but once fermentation happens, the microbes start to make carbon dioxide. So you'll start to see air pockets of gases, and it might also kind of rise up a bit. And you don't want to let this ferment for probably more than about, I think the longest we've ever done is like 3 days. So probably about 48 hours is perfect. And that's because if you let it go too long, it'll get really quite sour quite quickly. So I don't want to fill this right up to the top. And that's because, like I said, there's the potential for this to grow quite a lot and expand. And we've definitely had it before where we've filled it up too high and then we've come to open it, it just explodes everywhere because of all the gases and the pressure that's built up. It's kind of cool to watch, but if you don't want things to be messy, I would leave kind of, that's roughly an inch from the top. So that is, that's exactly where you want it. So all you need to do with this now is to cap it, put it somewhere where you're not going to forget about it. We usually say kind of room temperature fermentations are about okay. You want something that's between about 18 to 22 degrees. But if you have room temperature, that's about 19. So if your kitchen is warm-ish, then that should be fine. You do want something that's about that temperature because if it's colder, fermentation will take a little bit longer to grow, and you might start to notice some growth in the top where the top layer has contact with the air, and that's where you might get a little bit of something you don't want. But that's also okay if you do get that. You can just take a clean spoon and take it off. So I think that's everything. And that's how you make a vegan fermented cashew cheese spread in less than 15 minutes.